Welcome to Random Select. Please enjoy.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mario coming to you again with another episode of Random Select. And today we have a one on one conversation with Queenette. She has been on several podcasts, so you guys should be familiar with her. But today I want to sit down and do up close and personal conversation with her so she can expand on a recent Periscope that she did that has some very interesting points. She is the relationship coach that is teaching women to date with clarity, confidence, and conviction. So I just want to give her an opportunity to expand on the recent Periscope, which was great that I might add. So you guys need to follow her because she's putting out some good stuff. So what I'm going to do right now is just turn the mic over to Queenette and go ahead, Queenette, expand on the recent Periscope you did and tell everybody what it was called and kind of get them, the premise on what it was about.
Thank you, Mario. So I just want to take time out to thank you so much for having me back on Random Select. It's an awesome podcast, and I enjoy being on. I enjoy being interviewed and on the panel. So recently, I did a Periscope. It was titled "It's Not Him, It's Your List," and I also said, "Ladies, it's time to update your list." Um, and that came from just listening to different women, talking to different women about what they were looking for in men. And one thing that I noticed is that a lot of women, it was like almost like a common thread that they all wanted to have someone that, had a certain level of education. At least they wanted someone that was that had a college degree at the level that they had a college degree, at the level they were. I'm sorry. They also wanted someone who made a certain amount of money. Um, some of them also talked about the different types of career. So they kind of had they had the Mr. Right already figured out, and they had a list of what he would look like, what he would sound like, how tall he was, how tall he would be, and and all those things. And so I just wanted to like be honest with women and have a real conversation. I've been married for 10 years, and I just wanted to shed some light on some of the things that they had on their list, isn't what currently makes me a happy wife. So, what the premise in which I asked all women, right, during the Periscope, I said to them, what will make you a happy wife when no one is looking? So what we did was put the list, all the list of things that they wanted out of men. We put the list up against that question to see if it would hold up. And if it didn't hold up, I encouraged them to sort of edit the list a little bit, alter it a little bit, and see if they could really, give themselves an opportunity to meet someone that would treat them really well, that will make them a happy wife 30, 40, 50 years down the line, as opposed to like, I'm a happy girlfriend, which is like temporary. I wanted women to think, further along the line.
Okay, so with that being said, I heard you talk about how you and your husband got together, which gives you a unique perspective on this list, and which kind of brings it home for me when I heard it. Can you kind of let the audience know how this came about?
So I met my husband when I was in college. I was in college and I was part of the African Student Association, and there was a gentleman there who introduced me to my husband. My husband was a taxi cab driver at the time, and he was also in school. And so when he introduced us, we met. I come from Nigeria. I come from a big family, sort of a prestigious family, if you will. Um, and in the back of my mind, I knew that this wouldn't necessarily be acceptable for like us to, call in Nigeria and say, hey, the person I'm potentially wanting to marry is a cab driver. So to make a long story short, I started talking to he was my boyfriend, talking to him at the time, my husband at the time, right? Trying to get to know him. And the more we spoke, the more I try to see if he was lying. I'm just like I was just like every other woman, trying to see if he's just talking a lot of game, trying to just get with me and things like that. But the more I spoke to him, the more I realized that not only was he a good person, but like he had a real clear vision and drive. And that's one of the things that like I want to distinguish, right, between because a lot of women would say, well, Queenette, I spent all this time in school. I'm building my own business. I'm the head of this. I'm the CEO of that. And you just want me to date any other guy, like, and things like that. So I wanted to distinguish, if that's okay, Myra, at this time, to distinguish the difference between the two types of men. Yeah. So there's two types of men, right? Because I'm not just telling women who are working hard, who are doing the things that they need to do to just pick anyone off the street. So let me just make two. So there's just two types of men that I want you to think about, right? The first type is someone that has a clear vision and a drive, right? This type of man, right? He has a fighting spirit. Like he allows himself to persevere through like bumps in the road. He doesn't quit halfway through like things that he's going through because he knows where the goal line is, right? He perseveres and he's persistent and consistent. Like my husband, but he's my husband now. But during the time when he was driving the cab, he was able to save so much. Like when I say thousands of dollars, I'm not even exaggerating. Like he literally used to save all his money. Like he has so much money. I couldn't believe you can make that much money driving a cab. And of course he was working tons of hours, like 12, 13, 16 hours nonstop. On holidays he would be working because in his mind he knew that he had to deliver. He knew he had to, create a home one day, right? Not even for me necessarily, but and he knew what his vision, he was so clear about what he would be doing years from now that he decided, like, even when his leg was hurting, he would still go to work because he knew where he was trying to get to, right? So that's a man with a clear vision and drive. So yeah, he was driving a cab at the time and it was in school, but look how many hours he put in because he knew where he was going to end up, right? So that's one type of man, right? The next type of man that you might meet and you might get confused is the guy I call a guy with like a blurry vision, and he's a dreamer, right? So this type of guy, and you've probably run into him before, he's always complaining about what somebody did to him. My boss did this. He has like a victim mentality, right? He always needs to be bailed out. He always needs to borrow money. He has this like, why is this happening to me experience of life, right? He's always losing his job. He's always either quitting or losing, or getting fired, I should say. He's inconsistent. And the reason why he's inconsistent is because his vision is not clear. So when your vision is not clear, that kind of guy is not able to persevere through, tough jobs. He's not able to persevere through bumps on the road. He quits prematurely because he doesn't know where the goal line is, right? So because you can't see your goal line, you're gonna quit. It's like being on a football like field, right? Because you can't see the goal line and you're like, oh, this might be too long. It might take too long. Or I don't know. So he just quits prematurely. So I want to that's why I thought that this was helpful. Like if you can distinguish between a guy with a clear vision and who has a drive and you can see him actually doing the work, right? Versus a guy that's always complaining. He's always dreaming about what he's going to do instead of getting a job right now while he's working towards his dream. Those are two different types of men. And I think what we do, ladies, is that we lump them all together and we throw away the baby with the bathwater. And so I wanted to make that line so clear so that when you see this guy who's like and I in my Periscope I use an example of a mailman where the guy he's been working in the mail office for some time. He's very consistent. He has an income. He can take you out. He can pay his own bills. He's not asking you for money. Because really a man is not, no, I don't care how little he makes, he's not going to let you take care of him. And that's how you know when a man is being a man. Like even if he is a mailman, even if he works at a fast food restaurant, right? He's not going to let you take care of him. He's going to save up his money. He's going to take care of you. He's going to take you out. He's going to do the things he knows a men are supposed to do, right? So what I was urging women to do was just, and I use mailman, not that a mailman's job is like low or anything like that, but I just try to set the barometer. Like he may not necessarily have a college degree, but what do you see him doing? Because where he's at right now may not be where he's going to stay. And I didn't want women to just focus on that.
Okay, well, let me ask you this question because that's what I'm here for, to kind of play not necessarily devil's advocate, but ask legitimate, logical questions. For a woman who's dealing with, like you said, the two different types of men, what would be her timeline before the actual doer and the dreamer? What would be her timeline to say, okay, I see that the stuff you talk about is not really where you trying to go, or you finding it hard to achieve it? What would be her timeline and how would she go about it?
I would say one, it's hard to put a timeline on it. I would say a few months, because here's the thing. You're not looking to see whether he achieves it in a few months. You're looking to see his behavior his action that he takes towards his goals, right? So like a dreamer, right? A dreamer has a certain behavior, like a dreamer, like of someone with a blurry vision. They have a you can hear what they say about what they're going through, right? Versus like you'll hear them make excuses, you'll hear them complain, you'll hear them it's like woe me. They're always the victim. So hearing listening to that and watching what they're doing, right? Versus a guy who's actually like, okay, now I know for sure I have to pay some bills, so I need to keep this job because this is the responsible thing a man will do. So he may not be at his dream job yet, but he knows he has to maintain some sort of a consistent income no matter what, no matter how low it is, he has to maintain some kind of a consistent income while he works towards his bigger goals and dreams. So it's hard to put a timeline on it, but I wouldn't say to be with a dreamer more than several months if you see that this guy is not so much that he has a dream that's the problem. It's just that how he behaves and acts and his mentality towards achieving that dream shows that he's not ready to be a husband yet. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. So when you say dreamer, you talking about the type of guy that always said they against me, they don't want me to succeed, the white man holding me down. You talking about that type of guy?
Exactly. Exactly. It's not that exactly you hit it right on the head. So it's not so much that he has a dream, right? Because the cab driver, my husband, had a dream too, but it wasn't that his dream wasn't good enough for me. It was what I saw him doing in pursuit of his dream that made me think, wow, like no matter what happens, I know he's going to pay the bills. No matter what happens, he's going to take a second job if he has to. No matter what happens, he's going to keep on going because look what he's doing now. He doesn't have excuses. He's not saying, well, when I was in my country, I used to be the CEO of my own company and now I have to come to America and start all over. He didn't say any of that stuff. He said, this is where I'm at now. No problem. This is what I'm going to do and watch me work. He doesn't make excuses. He just makes things happen. That's the kind of leader. If I'm going to follow a man and submit, I need my leader to be like that. So I can be like, wow, I could be inspired by him and work hard. Not someone that's going to be like, oh my goodness, like what you just said. The white man
Okay.
won't let me get a leg up, all these things like, similar to what you just said.
Okay. All right. So let's try to jump into your list. Number one on the list. I mean, where do you start at on this list?
Okay, so the first thing I said to women, right, was let's use the premise, right? What would make me a happy wife when no one is looking, right? So
Okay.
so let me start with the one that, some of the things that we have on the list. So I said like, okay, let's say he's tall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because some women have, I don't want a guy shorter than me. When I wear high heels and I'm taller than him, it feels weird. And this is I know it sounds like a little bit of a joke, but for some women, height is a real requirement for them. They may not say this out loud, and this is why I said it on Periscope, and I'm saying it now. Is that a lot of women will not verbally say this out loud because they don't want to sound shallow, but for them, this is a deal breaker. So I would ask the woman like 40 years from now, right? Will his height really, really matter? Will his height matter? So I said during the Periscope, I said, let me tell you what I thank my husband for it. I've never in the last 10 years thanked my husband for his height. I've never said, oh, thank you, Ifani, for being 6'2". I've never thanked him for being tall. I've never even thanked him for having a college degree. I never said thank you so much for having a college degree. But let me tell you what I've thanked him for, right? So some of the things that I've thanked him for is being a reasonable man, right? He's reasonable. I thanked him for like thinking about me. I thanked him for loving me unconditionally. I thanked him for putting me first, in so many areas. I thanked him for things like praying for us, for the family, for providing for us, for working. Like he does what it takes to provide for the family, right? Those are the things that I've thanked him for in the last few years. And I try to thank him as often as I can because I think that really helps him keep going and doing more things for the family. Um,
Yes.
so I wanted to ask women like to think about what I just said, right? We've been together for 12 years. I've been married for 10, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's very important that anybody can get a ring. Any women, I'm telling you, it's easy to get married. And that's why the divorce rate is so high because people think that, oh, I'll be happy once I get a ring. That's so not how it works. You're not going to be happy because you have a ring on your finger. I promise you, there's a lot of people who are married, men and women, who are currently feeling lonely in their marriage. They feel like, why am I even in this? So some will stay and then some will get a divorce. So I guess what I'm hoping that people will do now is pick happiness. I want to be happily married versus I just want to be married. Because I'm telling you, like the people that are going through divorce right now are feeling down, broken, depressed. It's not easy. So I just feel like if people go into it with their eyes wide open and go into it with the right intention, you can set yourself up really nicely with someone that you're gonna love, that you're gonna work together with. So I have a list here of like things that women should have on their list, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to say, well, you shouldn't have, but what should you have? And so the first thing I have here is you want to have on your top of your list, right? You want to have some. You want to write down things like reasonable. You want a man who's reasonable, right? And then in a Periscope, I asked, I said, do you know what it feels like to deal with someone that's unreasonable? Like, have you ever dealt with anyone that's unreasonable? Maybe a boss, maybe a girlfriend. Have you ever been around someone that's unreasonable? If you have, you will see how that can make you the most miserable person ever. No matter how cute, no matter how tall, no matter how many degrees he has, if your husband is unreasonable, you are going to be one unhappy wife. Why? Because as you know, life will throw curveballs at you because that's what it is, right? And if you're dealing with an unreasonable man, no matter how many, like I'm telling you, no matter how much his income is, no matter how tall, no matter his career, no matter his college level, you are going to be an unhappy wife if you marry someone that's unreasonable. Again, same thing here. I have selfless. You want a man who thinks about you, thinks about the family first, who's going to decide to pay the mortgage instead of, oh, let me go buy some studio equipment. You want a man who's attentive to your needs, who's gonna, if you're not feeling a certain way, he's gonna look at you and be like, oh, something is off, let me check in with her. You want a man who's attentive. Those are things that's gonna make you a happy wife 30, 40, 50 years from now. I also put supportive, right? Like I said to them yesterday, yesterday on Periscope, that the reason why I'm able to be a relationship coach, in addition to all the things that I do, is that my husband is super supportive. He's like, they call you anyway, so go ahead and do this. He actually, kind of nudged me towards this. Go ahead. This is your sweet spot. You like this? Go ahead and do the relationship coaching thing. And I also have here on the list that you want someone that's honest, right? Because we know what that looks like when you have a man who is dishonest with you, right? You snoop. You literally, I did a scope on that where you sentence yourself to, like, yeah, I feel like it's a little jail if you have to snoop around, look through his stuff, go through his emails and stuff. Like, that's not living a good life. And that is very addictive. So women get into this whole snooping thing and they can't stop because they feel like, oh, I might find something one day. And I just feel like that's not going to make you a happy wife. So I just want to urge women, like, get off the whole, I need a guy that's, that makes a certain amount, that's he looks a certain way, that lives a certain location, and get things on your list that will make you happy 40 years from now, and that's the gist of what I was hoping that they would get.
Okay, let me ask you this. Now, with you talking to the women, is this an assumption that the woman is coming from a right place herself? That she's, because what if she's that person that's unreasonable and stuff like that? Does she have to do some self searching within in order to get to a point where she can be on the look for this type of stuff?
Absolutely. So how I do coaching is that I assess the woman, I assess her mindset to see where she's at, to find out if she should even be dating, right? So there's like three categories. The first category is single, and I'm working with women on mindset stuff, right? After the mindset things, and I'll explain what that is, then we go to the next step, which is now you're ready and prepped to be dating, right? So, like you just said, right, there's a lot of women that have no business dating right now. Why? Because some of them, because I'm thinking about the group of people, are suffering some for low self-esteem. Like one lady now, she was talking about how she didn't graduate from college and she feels that she will never be able to attract the man who graduated from college. She feels bad about herself. She feels like they will always overlook her. And so her self-esteem right now is not where it should be, right? So any, like, guys who target women like that, she's always, if she goes out to date right now, she's always gonna attract a guy who likes women who feels bad about themselves, like the woe me. So they see that she's an easy target. They'll take advantage of her, and here she'll have another, bad relationship. It won't go well because where she's at right now, she cannot attract a guy who's gonna be looking for a woman who's vibrant, who's happy, who's in a good place, right? So I agree with what you just said, which is but the thing is, some women don't know that they shouldn't be dating yet, right? And so they end up pointing the finger at men, what men did, and I get that, but um, women do have to work on themselves first. But again, what attracts a man is not your college degrees, right? So the woman that I'm working with now, I have to find out what exactly, because she's new, what exactly is she good at? Because everybody has something to offer in the world, right? So what
Yes.
she has to understand is that men are not looking like, oh, she has a degree, so I'm gonna get with her. Men want to feel cared about. They want to feel loved. They want a soft place to land. A man doesn't want another man. So your degrees and your income and all that stuff. If he can't come home to a peaceful home, he doesn't want you. So again, I think that we women, some of the women, have their mindset all mixed up, thinking that, oh, because I have my stuff together, the stuff you have together is not what he's looking for. So like the little degrees, the income, you bought your own home. I promise you that a man who's looking for a wife is not saying, oh, let me go with her because she has a degree, she has a house, I can come in and like those are you attract a certain kind of man. It's probably not the kind of guy that you want. You probably attract a mama's boy, a man that's looking for you to, kind of, you know, he wants to like cruise on your. That's not the kind of man you're looking for, is what I'm saying. So once I get women to understand, like, listen, all those degrees and things mean nothing to a man. How you make a man feel, right? How he feels when he's around you is what makes a man like, oh, that's my wife, because now feels like he can grow with you. So once I get her to understand, like, the degrees and things like that, but what else are you doing? What else? How else are you improving yourself? Or what are you doing? Because right now I don't know what she's doing. That was just the first assessment to find out what kind of client she would be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Which brings me back to something I heard you say on the Periscope as well. How do we help people? And this could go for men too, but specifically I'm talking about women. Get rid of the stigma of listening to other people, friends, family, coworkers, give them that bad advice about who they should be dating and what are their requirements. Because a lot of women listen to other women say, "Girl, you dating that," and "Girl, you dating him." And how do you help a person say, "Look, this is my decision. This is my choice," but we let so many other outside things hold more weight than your own opinion. How do you get rid of that stigma?
Right. That's a really good question. I shared yesterday that my uncle, right, when he called me, when my husband came to do the whole engagement thing, he called me outside and he said, after he said to be careful about them, he said, what does he do? And when I told him, he looked like, oh my goodness, like a taxi cab. And then my uncle proceeded to tell me what to tell this grown man what he should be doing. And I looked at him and I knew something wasn't right about that. So of course I never did that. But this is a hard question, and I think that's where coaching comes in. To be honest with you, that's where coaching comes in, because people go to whoever's closest to them to get advice, and unfortunately, a lot of women are getting poor advice from people who probably are not even in healthy relationships. First, from people that aren't probably not in relationships, and secondly, from people that are not in healthy relationships, right? And and I hope, like, through the podcast, through, the Periscope, through people listening to other people that are really clear about what's going on, people who have experience in it, that hopefully they can start changing, because a lot of this comes down to like the mindset. So I think that's a hard question in terms of how do you get them to not listen. But if a woman is hard, because if you're true to, if you know who you are and you know what's gonna make you happy, like for example, like I didn't listen to my uncle because I knew what I saw in him, right? I saw him working hard, right? I saw him going after his dreams. I knew what I knew because I saw his actions. That's another thing I said. I said to women, like, don't listen to what he says. Period. I mean, you listen as much as you can, but his actions tells you what he thinks and what he feels. Men will show you by what they do how they feel about you. So if he calls you once a week at 10 p.m., that's how he feels about you. Stop getting confused. Don't ask him no questions. If only time a man calls you is at once a week at 10 p.m. and you guys are dating, that's how he feels about you. He just wants to be with you once a week at 10 p.m. And then you, as a woman, you have to make a decision based on what he's showing you. I don't care what he said about how much he loves you. I don't care what else he said. If he only calls you once a week at 10 p.m., That's exactly what he thinks and feels about you. Stop asking extra questions. And this is where we get caught up and we get our heart broken and we're like, oh, but he said he did. Stop listening to what they're saying. No offense, Mario, but I'm just saying I have to help my sisters out here. Like, stop listening to what men are saying. Like, and that's the thing. Go with what they're doing, and they show you what they think about you by what they do, right? So that's huge.
Okay, I didn't take any offense by that. I'm to a point in my life where I agree with you 100%. Um, so, but I also wanted to get into this. I heard you throw around the word, the phrase mindset. So, real quick, kind of break down what do you mean when you say helping people change their mindset?
So I think mindset comes down to like perception, because our perception is our reality, right? So for example, if the young lady that I was talking about earlier, right, her mindset right now is she's not good enough. She this is the story she's told herself, because we all walk around with a story, right? The story, whatever story we're carrying, is our mindset. So um for me, I don't know if I shared this before on the podcast. I used to carry around, because I didn't have my parents around. I was raised by my uncle and my aunt. I used to carry around a mindset when I was a teenager that well, because I had to work hard to like provide for myself, that I don't need anybody. Like, I don't need anybody to help me, because when I depend on people, I get to eat a pack of sunflower seeds for the day. That's my meal, right? So you know what? Now I'm gonna work hard and I'm gonna make sure that I never have to depend on anybody to eat again, right? So that developed that mindset in like in high school, when I had to struggle, work at a fast food restaurant and things like that, right? And then I also developed the mindset like, well, if my mother doesn't want me, nobody else is gonna want me, right? That was the story. So your mindset is the story you're currently telling yourself right now, good, bad, or whatever. Whatever story you're telling yourself is your reality, and it's a perception, but it's your reality. So whatever story you come up with is as good as it being true, right? So
Yeah.
until you get rid of that, until you alter the story a little bit, and a story equals mindset, then you'll be able to live a better life. So once I got rid of the idea that, oh, I need people in my life, like I need to be like, the world functions when we're in a community where people have your back, where you don't have to do it by yourself, Queenette, when you can let go and let a man be a man. When of course my mother loved me, because when I went to talk to her, she explained how she couldn't get into the country and all these things. Like, once I got rid of the story that I was holding on to, that was making me sick, that was making me mad at the world, that was making me having to be a strong, independent woman. Once I got rid of that story, then my mindset changed. So your mindset equals the story that you're currently holding on to. And to you, it looks like the reality, because that's all you have. That's all you have. So once you change that story, and that's one of the things I love coaching for, because I help women write a different story. And once I can help you write a different story, like this young lady now that thinks that she's right now, she's the almost like, I don't want to say depressed, because I haven't gotten enough information yet, but she's feeling really low about herself. She's feeling really down. She feels that she's only going to attract men who are uneducated, who don't want her, or that's going to take advantage of her. She's already have a story all filled out. So guess who she's going to attract right now if she goes out dating? If this is the story that she's walking around with, guess who she's going to attract when she goes out on dates? So that goes, the same thing goes for women who do have it together in terms of finances and education and things like that, and they've been hurt in a lot of relationships. So if they go out with the mindset like, oh, I've been hurt, all men are dogs, you can't trust these guys, I have to have my own, because they won't be able to take care of me and things like that. Or I don't want one to take care of me because my mother told me, I have to be strong and I have to have my side money. I can't let him know about this money and stuff like that. If that's the energy in which you're going out with, meeting people, that's a mindset that you think is normal, that you think is fine, you're gonna attract a certain type of guy. You're gonna attract exactly what you're trying to run away from. Until we tweak that story a little bit and give you a different story and a frame of mind to use, then and only then will you be able to attract the right kind of guy into your life.
Okay, let me ask you this question.
Sure.
If you let's just so we can keep the numbers nice and right, let's just keep it. Let's say you've been a certain mindset since you've been about 15. Let's say you're 30 now. That's 15 years. If you've been thinking a certain way for 15 years, more so than a mindset, which still is a mindset, it's become a way of life, your lifestyle, just the way you think. How you, as a life coach, turn around 15 years of a mindset? How do you do that? How do you come in and correct something that has become almost a way of life?
Oh, it's definitely doable. The first question I have is if they're a willing participant, right? Let's say, so okay, we have the one, they have to be willing to be coached, right? They have to say, you know what? Yes, I'm ready for life coaching. I'm ready for relationship coach. Queenette, I'm all yours, right? Once I get that approval that you're willing to be coached, then we're good, right? Because the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask you, based on your 15 years of experience, based on what you've been doing so far, right? This is a golden question right here. You can ask any of your friends, how is that working for you right now? That's the question. How is that working for you? What you're currently doing, how is that working for you right now? And then usually what I get back is, well, you know, it's not really working because this is, and they'll start saying all the things that men are doing and all those people that they're attracting, all those things. So I said, okay, I got that. I got that. I understand that. So then what we do is we'll start picking up patterns, right? We'll start trying, because what I want to find out is the kind of people she's attracting and match it up with her story, right? So we'll start picking up the patterns. So I said, oh, wow. It looks like of the 10 men you dated, 5 of them were cheaters and 5 of them were emotionally unavailable. I'll ask, do you think you know why the 10 people, you picked up, the last 10 people you were with were cheaters and then the other 5 was like so now her wheels has to start turning, right? She has to start thinking like, damn, it can't be, it can't be that it's all the men. It cannot be, right? Like if you are reasonable, like not even reasonable, but like here's the thing, right? About coaching that's really good, right? You find out, is this working, is not working, right? Then a lot of times you have to plant the seed. A lot of it is planting the seed, and then gradually you see the mindset start to shift, right? Because what we do is, if we look at these patterns and we see that the last 10 people you were with, right? You're one person, and the last 10 people you were with had different issues. 5 of them cheaters, 5 of them emotionally unavailable, right? The only reasonable question to ask, most of these people are reasonable people. It's just that sometimes it's hard to see it when you're all in your own head. But when you can talk it out with someone, who understands how to do this, then you start seeing a shift, right? So once she finds out, like, wow, you know what? Maybe if all I can get is a maybe, we're good. That's all I need is a maybe, and the shell begins to, come down. The walls begin gradually. Don't get me wrong. 15 years is not a problem. This is normal, really. Like 15 years, I don't think 15 years is the big deal. It's just once they're willing, once they say that they want coaching, that's when I know that they're getting ready. Because why? No one who thinks that they're right is going to look for coaching because everybody is still wrong. Does that make sense? So
Yeah, it makes
once
sense.
the person says, oh, I want coaching, in my mind, I'm like, okay, so they have a signal that something is not working. Now, they when they come to me, they may still think that as men, but by the time, we're done, we'll get them closer to the place where I think and they believe that now they're ready to date successfully, right? So the first part is what you just said, which is mindset. And if it's 15, 20 years, doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. Once they're ready and they say, you know what, coach me, I'm open, whatever you say, I'm going to try it. And I give them a few homework to do and they see success. Then I'm like, oh, this works. Oh, this is not what men are looking for. And it's almost like they cannot believe that they've been working hard and they didn't have to work that hard. Like, I'm not trying to be, a certain way, but men are not that men. Like, I have to be honest. Like, sometimes we are difficult. Like, what you guys need is not as difficult as what I need. Like, my husband works harder to be a husband than I have to work to be a wife. And I know that sounds weird to some people right now, but I don't know. That's a different scope. I mean, that's a different conversation. But men are not, and I'm not even talking about the basic things that you hear people say on TV, like sex and this and all that. That's just like icing on the cake and stuff. There's some simple stuff, like affirming him, making sure that he feels like he feels appreciated when he does things for me and stuff like that. Like some basic things that you can do that will make a man happy because he's not asking for much. He's really not asking for much. But I can work
Okay,
with
well,
anybody. Let's put it that way.
okay, all right. Well, let me ask you this. Now, this is a time where I truly am going to play devil's advocate here.
Yep.
Let's say that I've come to you
Mhm.
and, you were my relationship coach. I've done everything that you've asked me to do. I've did the exercises. I've done everything. And I find that I'm still having whatever issues or problem that I was having with men. And then now, I'm like, Queenette, I did everything you told me to do, but I'm still not having any type of success. What do you say to that person?
I would find out if they really changed their mindset. Like you know how when you're talking to somebody and they try to like yes ma'am you, like, oh yeah, I believe you, you know what I'm saying? Like, so if they haven't made a tweak in their mindset and are truly applying it, then they'll be where they're at. That's the only thing that will keep your the only thing that could keep things the same is that you haven't shifted your mindset yet, right? So like, let's say doing the coaching, instead of like really pushing back, right? Like if you don't agree, say you don't agree, right? If you still confused, say you're still confused. Like, don't try to say yes or agree just because of coaching, right? And then when we do follow-up phone calls, I'm gonna ask, so how did this go? What did this, how did, I'll ask certain questions. Don't lie to the coach, because if you lying to the coach, we're moving on to the next thing, thinking that you're really applying and that you really understand. So I would say, if anybody's listening and thinking about coaching, your coach is your right hand person. Like, you don't, the coach is like your lawyer. You don't have to lie to the coach. That's the coach. You want to cry, you want to curse, whatever you feel like doing, go ahead and do it with the coach. You know why? Because I will get an idea of where you're at, and I will be able to better help you. In my case, actually have a master's degree in counseling. I've been a school counselor for almost a decade now, and I also teach at the graduate level, right? So, in my case, I have counseling skills, even though I don't call myself a counselor. So, if you're not, my advice to the person would be like, don't waste your time and money on coaching if you're gonna lie to the coach. It's like lying to your lawyer. The lawyer doesn't know how to defend you. So my thing is, when you go to a coach, no matter who you choose, don't lie to the coach. Like, if you feel like, no, well, men should do what I want them to do, then you say that during the session, so that the coach can assess and help you with different tactics and how to like shift the mind. But if you lie to your coach and the coach thinking that, oh, you're making progress, then it's like having a personal trainer. The personal trainer says, don't eat bread after 10 p.m. You eating all the bread and then come to him and say, oh, I didn't lose my gut yet. Well, you're lying. So you know what I mean? So you're not getting results.
Okay. Well, let me also ask this from a woman's standpoint who feels that no matter what, right, that we all know people in our lives that seem to can't be alone. They go from like person to person to person. Do you feel that being a relationship coach to a person like that helps? Because you know what I'm talking about, the person who just feels that I got to have a man or I got to have a woman, I just can't be alone. Because there are people like that. No matter what you say to them, they feel they need to have somebody. Do you find that coaching them is effective or not so much?
Coaching them can be effective if they're ready to be, like, it's almost like, if you want to change, you have to say, you know what, I do want to change. I want something different. I don't no longer want to hurt. I don't want to feel used by all these men that I'm dealing with, that I know that after I sleep with them, I'm gonna feel bad the next day. They can be, oh yes, there's a woman I have on detox, right? So that's the same thing. Like, she couldn't stop dating. She couldn't be by herself, because you know why? She didn't want to sit and think about all the stuff. Like, so being by yourself requires you to think, right? It requires you to sit and see what's going on within you. That is too scary from a lot of women, because a lot of women have really been through a lot of childhood trauma. So being by myself requires me to do work that I'm not ready to dig up yet, work that I'm not even trying to touch right now. So you asking me to do too much. And so as a coach, I have to assess that and see if this is somebody I should recommend for therapy, or if this is someone that I can coach. And there's a big difference. And being able to assess that as a coach is really important, because really, if the person has been through trauma, they need to go to therapy first, right? They really need to go to therapy first to deal with some of the childhood traumas before they can really, benefit from coaching. And so if I see that, I'll definitely recommend them to therapy. And I don't know if they all take it. But you'll tell them that, they're not coachable right now. Some women are not coachable right now. But the ones that are continually in and out of relationship, I definitely put them on a 90-day detox, like straight up detox. It's hard, but you know what? Then you call the coach, you email the coach, you have an accountability partner, and we get you through that hump. Because after the 90 days, then they're okay to be by themselves until we can start working on the mindset and stuff. But definitely, there's some people that are not ready to be coached, and especially if there's a lot of trauma that they haven't really processed. Honestly, and I hate to throw around the word therapy, but I just feel like if we understood that therapy was actually good and you in the hands of the right therapist, you'll be fine. But sometimes, depending on the culture, we're just too scared of therapy, or we just feel like we're mentally we're crazy. We attribute all these negative things to therapy, and I'm just like, no, it's just like having someone to talk to, but there's someone that's trained that knows how to help you heal. You know, so I'm sure if there was a
Okay.
fancier word for therapy, people would go. But if there was a different word, but therapy just sounds like, oh my goodness, something is wrong with me. And it's not that something is wrong with you. It's just that they help you on another level to really change the way heal, literally heal from the inside out.
Okay, and I agree with you 100% because dealing in our culture, being, Afro American, you hear a lot of people say therapy is something that white people go to.
Mhm.
Therapy is something, we don't have time, especially when it comes to depression. We don't have time to be depressed.
Mm-mm.
People say stuff like that when that's just couldn't be further from the
I
truth.
agree.
So, with that being said, let me ask you this: is there something like a worksheet or something that a person could do to kind of check off to see if they might need a relationship coach or something? Is there some type of prerequisite where they could say, where you could give out and they go, okay, yeah, from everything that I filled out on this piece of paper, I think I might need a coach.
I have this thing that in my workbook, I'm creating a course. It's called like dating exhaustion.
Mm,
I named it dating
okay.
exhaustion. So it's like a 7 questions you ask yourself, and if you check off 2 to 3 of them, then you would benefit from coaching. Some of the questions are, let me see if I can pull it up. It's just things like, have you been dating for a while? And it's just some of the things we talked about. Like, hold on, let me see if I can just grab it here.
Okay.
So things like, every like, okay, there it is. So I'm tired of going out on dates. Like, if are you tired of going out on dates? Some women are just exhausted. They're tired of going out on dates after dates after dates after dates, whether it's online, whether somebody introduced them. They're just sick of the whole dating process. Like, it's exhausting. It just feels like they're spinning their wheels and they keep meeting people that doesn't match, so they feel like they're just wasting their time, right? So that's one question. Another question is, do you so I put it in the I version. So I don't trust men because they all want one thing, right? So are you the type of person, or are you the type of woman that believes that all men want one thing? So now when you show up on a date, this poor guy that never did anything to you, you asking him questions like he's about to join the military or the CIA, right? And he's supposed to, you just, a date is supposed to be just fun. Yes, in your back of your mind, down the line, there might be something, but you don't show up on dates that way, right? So do you feel like you don't trust men? And if you, that sister that doesn't trust men, think about that. Like, you're showing up that way, even if you think you're not. So a man on a date with you feels like he has to defend himself, and he's like, dude, excuse me, he's just like, I just want to have fun. Like, what's all these questions for? We're not getting married, and so men are turned off by you. So if you don't get a, that was one of my next questions. Like, you may not get a second date. Like, so if you're the type of woman that's dating and you don't get the second date phone call, how are you showing up on these dates? So another one is the woman that doubts that she'll ever find a good man, so she just took herself off the market. I had one that I was talking to. I had a woman that I was talking to like that, and finally, after we worked on the mindset stuff, I put her on an online dating regimen. And I know a lot of people are gonna turn their nose up at online dating, but I have a. We can do another conversation about. It's not the system. Is the other stuff, but that's a different topic. But so she just like, I'm not dating anybody. This is it. I'll never find anyone good anyway. So what's the point? So she was gonna sentence herself to single life for 50 years. And I'm like, all right, let's do some work. I've gone out with nice men, but I don't get a call back. I talked about that. Nowadays, men don't know how to treat a woman, so they probably picking up on the wrong guys, and they feel like, oh, that's how all men are. And I'm like, no, there's so many good brothers, there's so many good people out here, good men out here. And I've been hurt so many times. I don't know if I believe in love anymore, right? So those are the kind of questions. If you ask yourself and you think about it, you're like, you know what? I really believe that I don't trust men anymore. I really, because a lot of women genuinely have been hurt. So this is not, trying to, sound a certain way. It's just that, but recognizing that you've been hurt, recognizing your mindset and how you feel about men right now, or how you feel about yourself, is really the first step into, changing some things around.
Okay. I agree with you 100%. And from a man's perspective, over the years, things have kind of got out of hand as far as being a certain way with women. I don't know whether it's culture, society, or I don't know what the factors are, but um, it has gotten to a point where we could tone it back a little bit to start, because there used to be a time when you refer to, woman as something endearing, like your honey or, something sweet sugar or something. Now we got so many other names for women that are not conducive to promoting a positive image on them. So I'll agree with a lot of other stuff that you're saying, and like I said, I listen to your periscopes and becoming rapidly a very big fan. So we're gonna get ready to wrap this up. So I want to say to you, what is a message that you want to get out to the women? And at the end of that, go ahead and tell people kind of what your scope schedule is, where they can find you, and stuff like that.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mary, for listening to my Periscope. That's awesome. I think the if I can just sum it all up, I just want to say that I don't want women to give up on themselves, and I don't want them to give up on the idea that they can truly find like a man who's gonna love, who's gonna respect, and who's going to cherish them. Like I just don't give up on the hope that that is possible, right? And understand that if you're in a situation or you've been in a situation where it's not working, it's okay. Like, we go to school to learn things. Like, this is not something that relationship is not something that, anyone went to school to learn. So I want to say, first of all, cut yourself a break, right? Cut yourself a break and understand that a lot of us made mistakes. I've shared it on Periscope many times. The mistake I've made. If you're on my email list, you get to hear my rebound story. So I'm definitely not sitting here like, oh, I have it together or I've been married. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that I'm coming from a place where, because I understand how mindset can really, set you up to be in like a really, in a bad place, that I know that the work starts with mindset. I know that the work starts within. It's hard because then it feels like you're being judged. But this is definitely not about judging. This is about, once you do the work within, you will be so surprised as to how you start attracting different people into your life, men and women, like attracting men or women, like having healthy relationship even with other women. So I just want to say that, one, don't give up. And two, if you feel like you've been spinning your wheels and things are not working, reach out to help. It doesn't matter who you go to. Oh, excuse me. Let me take that back. It does matter who you go to. But I guess my point is, reach out to get some help. Don't think that, or feel like, oh, I'm just going to do it by myself. When you can actually, it's okay to ask for help. Because a lot of times when you're strong, when you're smart, when you're successful, you feel like you have to do everything yourself. And all I'm saying is that, trust me, there's no reason to do it by yourself when there are people who are willing to help you, who are willing to help you. So, as far as my Periscope schedule, I scope every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Pacific. And if you download the Periscope app, and you can follow me at LOVEAMAKA. So this way, when I go live and I'm Periscoping, you can watch the live broadcast. If you want to contact me, you can email me at info@LOVEAMAK. That's info@loveamaka.com. So if you have any questions, you can definitely send me an email, and I'll respond to those emails, because I know that, this is the first time, some of you might be hearing, or first, few times you're hearing. So I'll definitely want to talk to you. If you're thinking about it, let's definitely have a conversation, and see, if coaching is right for you.
Okay. And women, as you heard, she has a good foundation in giving advice to help change mindset and to help you date with clarity, confidence, and conviction. And I definitely appreciate Queenette joining me on this podcast. As she's been just, I don't know, a very bright find in my podcasting world, and I truly appreciate her. And we want to thank you guys again for joining Random Select. You can find us on YouTube. Just type in the Random Select Podcast. We're on iTunes, Facebook. You can also find us on the website, therandomselect.com. And once again, I appreciate you guys, and definitely support Queenette. She is definitely worth supporting. And once again, catch the scopes. I promise you, you will not be disappointed, and you will get information abound, that you could try to apply to your life. And like she said, she gave you the information. If you feel like this might be something that you're interested in, please, by all means, get in contact with her. And I'm pretty sure she'll advise you well. And with that being said, the Random Select is out.
You have been listening to Random Select. Thank you. Goodbye.